welcome to another episode of Surroundscapes, where we explore different topics in the AV industry, and it's sponsored by Blue Sound Professional. I'm Craig Cooper. I'm the North American Sales Manager here at Blue Sound Pro, and we have a partner spotlight today, and it's a great one. We're super excited to introduce you to Fit Radio, and I'm going to pass it off to Rusty right now, and he's going to give us, if you could just give us a little background. I mean, how did you get to Fit Radio? How did you launch it? What was the path to get there?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thanks for having me. So I'm Rusty. I'm the founder of Fit Radio. It's always kind of a fun story to tell. I'm 42 now. In my early 20s, I was going to school for exercise physiology and biology. And I wanted to do physical therapy or something in the fitness industry. And I started working in a nightclub in Atlanta. And at the time, it was probably one of the hottest nightclubs in the city, held several thousand people. I hit 22 and they offered me a job to be the general manager and partner to run that nightclub. So I'm 22 years old, fresh out of college, and I'm running the hottest nightclub probably in the Southeast. So we were booking big acts like, anybody from Tiesto to Armin van Buuren, a lot of electronic music acts, hip hop acts from B.O.B. to T.I. And then I started booking shows all around the Southeast. And people started asking me, hey, we want this set that you played tonight so we can work out to it. And, this is 2011, right? So there's no Spotify at the time. People are still making, iTunes playlists. And, I myself was into fitness, and I would, I'd get ready to work out. And here I am trying to make a playlist, download on iTunes to upload to my iPod, right? And I realized, I think at one point I'm spending almost as much time making these playlists that I'm working out to as I am working out, because I'm a music enthusiast, always have been. So, the requests just kept coming, right? So hey, how do we get the music you guys are playing? We want to work out to it. So we decided to do it. And, I could tell this story now because we've been sued, but at the time I'm 22 years old. I have no idea what I'm doing. Streaming music is very, very new. Pandora had just launched at the time, only a few years old. So we go to one of the largest music attorneys in the Southeast, and we're like, hey, this is what we want to do. And, I had a partner, and we thought, we could come up with the funds to make it happen. And I'll never forget, the attorney looks at me and he's like, there's no chance. The labels won't license this. You can't do it. So, we did it anyway, which ended up being a very difficult decision in the sense that we got pretty big. And in 2018, we got sued collectively by all the major labels, right? But, our intention was never to commit copyright infringement. It was to find a way to license our service. So we were paying royalties under Sound Exchange. We weren't fully interactive as a service at the time. But, I think that we knew, and the labels knew, that we had some functionality that put us outside of that realm of what was allowed under the statute. So we got sued for a lot of money, and it was some very difficult years of my life. My wife was pregnant at the time, and just really, really hard times. But, I think that we were able to find a way to make it work, especially in fitness. We were able to prove that we were very different than Spotify and Apple Music. We weren't cannibalistic to the major streaming services, and we were very good at programming specifically for fitness and all types of fitness modalities. So, after when we initially launched the company, we just kind of launched it as a, consumer streaming app. But I think after the lawsuit, we kind of took a hard look at, again, Spotify is there now, Apple Music is there now, about what we do really well, right? And instead of just trying to market to the masses, just really hone in on fitness and try to own and win that market. And that's kind of, really what we've done. I think we represent and we power some of the largest brands in fitness now, from Orange Theory to Burn Boot Camp, F45, and beyond. And odds are good, if you've been in a group fitness class in the U.S., you probably heard us at one point or another. So I don't think on the content side, I haven't met many founders in music that don't have that type of story. I think it's almost a rite of passage, right? Like there's, it's you're dealing with a very complex system of rights with music, and you've seen it from Peloton to almost every major streamer, and that was kind of our story. But I think the good part is the labels. We have great relationships now. They understand who we are and that we try to do the right thing around rights and making sure that all of our venues are properly licensed. We actually started a side business to help all of our gyms obtain public performance licensing, which has actually been huge for the industry and made obtaining and understanding that licensing process easy for our gym partners. But yeah, we have, our platform is also built for consumers, but we really thrive in the gym space, and that's where most of our focus is at.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, there's a few questions I want to get to there. One thing we won't talk about, I managed and ran nightclubs as well. We won't tell those stories on the podcast for sure. At 22 and single running a nightclub, I think everybody can fill in a lot of blanks there.
No doubt.
Well, I know I want to get more into the rights thing because it's a really important topic, and it's not something that a lot of people want to talk about. So we'll talk about it kind of up front, and then we'll get to more of the fun stuff. But explain that more, because I think a lot, I see it a lot. It's Spotify's easy, right? Yeah, I can just make a Spotify playlist, or I can find one on Spotify, and I'm just going to play it in my gym, or in the rest of our industry, in the hospitality and the hotel and all that other kind of stuff. So explain, the differences, the layers there, right? So not only just the performance rights, but also the rights to actually play that music, in the way that you're doing. Explain that a little bit deeper for us.
Yeah, so Spotify, its core service is a personal streaming service, right? At their base price tiers. They do own Soundtrack Your Brand, which is a different price and is licensed for business use. But Spotify itself, and it being a fully interactive service, isn't licensed for commercial use. So if you're using that, you're violating Spotify's terms of use, right? Which they have those terms agreed to with the labels, that this pricing allows for you to stream for only your own personal listening. So if you are a business, right, if we're looking at that, like the first step is making sure that you're using a service that's properly licensed for business use. That's difficult because, Spotify is very clear in their terms and conditions, and they have Soundtrack Your Brand, but there are a lot of bad actors in the music space, right? And there are still people that are committing copyright infringement. There's still a big piracy problem across the music space. So I think that's step one, because it can be problematic. I get that question all the time, like, well, what are the labels going to do? Well, I've seen this in other brands, but like if you are building a multi-unit brand, and I've seen gyms that are even downloading music and sharing it via Google Drive with instructors, like you are committing copyright infringement, right? And I don't know what the fine is exactly, but it's around $25,000 per occurrence. So if it's anything like what they did with Fit Radio, they knew about Fit Radio for a very long time, and they're not going to contact you that day. They're going to wait until that fine gets substantial. And I think one of the more shocking pieces is that there are still a lot of brands in the fitness space that are multi-unit locations that are committing copyright infringement in some form. And a lot of what we do is education around that. Like I'd be lying if I said Fit Radio is the only option. It's not, right? I do think that we're the best option in fitness, but either way, there are plenty of options that are legal that will protect you versus, using an unlicensed service or trying to get music yourself and distribute that music like inside of your network. And also, Spotify, again, it's problematic because you are violating terms of service there. And we've actually recently signed some pretty large chains that had that issue. The other issue with Spotify that we find is that, you'll have instructors go off the rails, right? Like for most multi-unit brands, there are, hey, this is a style of music we need to play. This is a structure of that music. But I think we find that rarely instructors stay within the guardrail. Like they'll often incorporate their own personal music taste. But yeah, just getting back to the legality, I think it is important that you understand, and whoever you're talking to, ask questions. How are they licensed? Do they have direct licenses with the labels? Are they licensed under the statute? To ensure that, again, like if you decide to integrate with a partner who's not properly licensed, it's a matter of time before they go out of business. If you're using that music internally and you're distributing music, it's a matter of time before someone finds out. And the repercussions there are just massive, right? Like if you're distributing music internally without rights and you're not obtaining that music legally, it's problematic. And there are brands doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, we could talk about this one in the entire industry a lot, and we joke around, because we're agnostic to the service provider. We want the customer to get the absolute best service for their location or brand or branch or whatever. And so sometimes I'm talking to some of the service providers, and I'll be like, hey, let's all just get together, like the heads of the families, and see how we can change the paradigm, because I don't think anybody is trying to break the rules, right? There's some bad players out there that
No,
they just
I agree.
whatever, but most people are just uninformed, and that's my boss always said, that's we've now talked about the stick. So in my mind, it's also the carrot, right? So what are we getting from a pro service? And back to what you said earlier about spending more time on your playlist than actually than working out. I'm not a gym person. I'll be totally transparent about that. I race bikes. I ride bikes. I love riding bikes, and sometimes that doesn't happen. I live in the Midwest, so it's rainy or snowy. I really don't feel like going outside and riding my bike. So I have an indoor trainer. It's really nice, and I need music for that. And I think that's where tell us about how how you're curated, and how the different categories, and how we find the right playlist for for a gym or even for personal use.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So we have 85 different genres and styles of music, most of which are specific to fitness. So, in Pilates, which is a fast growing segment in fitness, is a pretty interesting example. But, we've got all the way from deep house to pop to ambient style music to more of like the traditional yoga style music. So you can kind of dig in each modality and find the right fit for each type of exercise. On the running side, we have thousands of playlists that are organized by BPM. I always tell runners, like, if you never ran to the beat of music before, it's a great way to help stay on pace. We do a lot of that stuff with Orange Theory, where we coordinate sections of the class to 150 to 160 BPMs. Like, I think 150 BPMs is roughly like a 10-minute mile pace. 160 is like roughly 9 minutes. And it's just different when the music is hitting and it hits your footfalls. Personally, and I think a lot of our users would attest to it, it makes a huge difference in that. We've got over 200 creators that contribute to our platform. Some of those creators are DJs, but a lot of them have a fitness background. They're fitness professionals who work with our creator team of DJs to be able to create content. And we also work closely with our brand partners. We work with hundreds of instructors at Orange Theory to create content that's specific to those class formats. So I think it's blending music production with fitness. So nightclub, you'll get this, right? On the nightclub side, like, a DJ kind of warms the room up, right? And like, it's an hour of warm up, and then the music starts to get heavier over time. I think fitness is very different, right? You don't have an hour, and the warm up structure looks different. And that also looks different across, many modalities. I think that when I talk to people about one of the things that we do that are different, we're not, unlike Spotify, we're not playing to one person. We're playing to a room, most likely a very diverse music taste. right? And they're very diverse demos. So it's actually the same concept as a DJ. Like some people ask me, like, well, what does a DJ do that's different? The real reason, right, that a DJ is playing songs for 2 minutes in a short period of time is he wants to increase the likelihood that you're going to hear something you like. It obviously keeps the energy up, but by playing songs for roughly 2 minutes versus a full 3.5 to 4 minutes, we can take that group of people on a much wider journey of music, like through music, right? So in an hour-long class, we're hitting a little bit of EDM, rock, pop, hip hop, and doing that in a way that it flows with the workout. So I think that is like, and it's not really a secret sauce, right? But it's the hard part is consistent curation and constantly adding in new music and creating new playlists. We did a 7,000 member survey with Orange Theory, Burn Bootcamp, and a few other brands, where we ask a lot of members what's important in music, right? In regards to music. And, the most common answers is 95% of members said that music is just as important as, the instruction in a workout, right? So you can have a great workout and terrible music and it ruins the experience. That's important because we also find that a lot of brands don't spend any time curating music, and they'll spend a ton of time creating fitness content. The other piece was that 92% of people said that they want to hear a different playlist every workout. If you're not creating a ton of content and you have a large fitness brand, that can be problematic. The biggest complaint was instructors singing along to the music, believe it or not. I think that's probably a hotly contested one because I think a lot of trainers love singing along to the music, but that was the number one complaint, which was kind of fun to see. But, we live and breathe fitness. We're a lot of fitness, most of us here have fitness backgrounds, and the other half have music backgrounds. And it's constantly trying to keep up with some of the latest trends in fitness and understanding how we can create the optimal music experience with, a brand like Hyrox, right? That has absolutely exploded. I think they're in 8,000, 9,000 gyms around the world right now that are using their workout style.
Wow.
So, Hyrox, we're talking to those guys about how we can enhance that workout experience. So just a lot of work in constantly innovating the music side to make sure that our content can keep up with the workout.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome when you have people that are, it's kind of, it's not passion. It's a passion, obviously, but it helps that it's a passion and it pays the bills, right? You can kind of have a little bit of the best of both worlds. I got that kind of right now. It's way nicer than trying to trudge through life working a job that you really don't find the end results to be super gratifying. That's really cool. So we've been playing around with the beta version on BlueOS, and by the time this podcast hits, it'll be live. It's a lot more than I thought we would get done because what we aim for with this integration is a streamlined integration. We have other providers that we're doing similar things to. None in the gym space, by the way. So it was really interesting to me to see how deep the integration really was because I was scrolling through there and I didn't one by one side by side compare it with the website experience, but it seems like we've got a really nice roadmap for a really nice launch platform. Have you had a chance to play with it, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I did have a brief chance to play with it, and I think I'm pretty excited about this. I haven't been this excited in a really long time. I think one of the things that sticks out to me is we find that in the past that gyms will go out and install an audio solution without thinking about their provider, right? And it's like an afterthought. And I'm excited, about the Blue Sound platform to make sure that as we expand with our current partners, that we can look at this together to provide a great option so that they understand the integration, they understand what they need. And, the sound experience is incredible, obviously. So I think that that's really important. When I look at, other brands in the space, like no secret, not a big fan of Sonos, never been a fan of Sonos. Like it's a very difficult platform to work around. Haven't met many of our gym partners that really love Sonos. The ecosystem is a problem there. Um, and I think it can be prohibitive, and just in terms of, your access to content and what you're able to use. Um, and, I think this partnership for us, we have a ton of gyms that they want to know exactly what to install. They want to know the optimal equipment, and they want to understand how it integrates with our service. And we're really excited about this initiative.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun working together. It's a vertical that obviously some of our products go into, but it's fun that you could have a one speaker sitting in a small studio or in your house, and just log into Fit Radio and play some great content. What what do you think is the biggest opportunities for for current or future customers when we're talking Blue Sound and Fit Radio together?
Um, I think it's just ease of integration, right? Like, having to deal with an AV supplier and not knowing what the sound experience is. Because what will happen is, like, a lot of times the folks that are handling and managing the build out aren't talking to the fitness folks who are managing the music. So I think making sure, that we inform all of our partners of the partnership, so that those sides can connect on that integration. I think it makes everybody's life easier.
Yeah.
Can't tell you how many times that, like, it's happening right now with a large partner, where they are trying to figure out how to hook into Fit Radio, and they've already made a bunch of decisions on the audio and on the AV side, and they're trying to sort of work backwards. And I think it just makes everybody's life a lot easier.
Yeah, well, and from our standpoint, it depends when Blue Sound Pro is brought to the equation. It's probably the same way as you. Your music service might be not the first thing that they think about when they're building a studio right now, or a gym. But you can retrofit with a streamer. You already have an existing location and you want something reliable, or you can design with full PoE speakers. So I see a lot of opportunity for us, and it's exciting to get rolling with it. I wouldn't say we were a little bit stagnant with our software integrations, but yeah, that's pretty much the point. And that was we were really focused on getting the hardware really, really reliable, really stable, and best in class. And now I think the shift is to continue the roadmap that we've built for the pro side on the hardware, but then get a more wide range of software options and service provider options for our customers. So you want to tell us, if you can, a little bit about what the future looks like for Fit Radio? Anything cool that you guys are working on that you can talk about? You don't have to give any
Yeah.
secrets away or anything like that.
Yeah, so I think I can announce this now. So we're still, there's a lot of approvals that have to happen in the music industry that we're working through. But, it's no secret, everybody's using AI. There are other major music services that are using AI to create playlists. But we've done it in a really cool way where, we've been working on it for the past 2 years, where you can take a class format and we crank out a mix real time that matches that specifically. You can chat with it just like any other LLM. But like classes like Spin that need specific BPMs, they need the music to change at specific cue points. So we can do that, right? So we can edit out music. We can transition real time to match a class format perfectly. And I think this is just huge for us, because there are modalities like Spin where most Spin studios are still using Spotify. Most Spin studios still operate the same way, playing a song. It's either a climb or it's a sprint. They play the next song. And I think that, just Spin as an example, I think there's an opportunity to innovate that experience with something like our AI DJ technology, where instead of making these segments just automatically 3 minutes, you can start making shorter segments. You can have the music still drive the experience. But I think that there's a lot you can do with the workout when you're not sticking to these like preset segments. But yeah, I think across multiple modalities, I mean, will it be as good as humans? Is it as good as humans now? It's getting pretty close, right? It's getting really close. It's I mean, I think everybody that works probably uses some form of AI in their daily life, right? At some point. But I think in how it looks at music, it's gotten really good. And, it's not like, Spotify has a great AI playlist feature, which is great for you personally. But, we're also looking at getting input from the studio, member music taste data, so we can start curating for that group of people real time, but also perfectly match that format. And it's something that's hard to do with people. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time. But I think it's the difference maker, right? Like when you go into Orange Theory and the music matches the workout, it's a dramatically different experience. I think we're scheduled to go in beta. I think around November of this year with a full launch in January. But opening up the ability for every gym to be able to create a high quality music experience that perfectly matches the workout is something we're really excited about.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I'm a huge AI proponent. We talk about and we discuss, ways that we're going to use AI in the future. I wish I had a cool announcement like you just had. Um, but we definitely talk about it a ton. I mean, I use it now. I create tons of playlists, not for working out, whatever the Taco Tuesday playlist or, the chill afternoon playlist. And yeah, it does a great job. You got to do a little bit of, you got to do a little bit of extra work sometimes to get it
Yeah.
exactly where you want it. But man, I love it. What, we're kind of wrapping up, so I just had a couple of funny questions. Really, what's your favorite playlist on your platform? It's
Uh
like picking your favorite child, right?
yeah, it's gosh. All right. So there's a series of playlists called Big Booty, and
All
it's
right.
not what you think. It is a wide range of music from 70s all the way to current hip hop. And it's I mean it's the creators, the guys, the DJs, two friends that actually put that together. They're incredible. And then I would say Ringside by DJ EM. Ringside is hard rock and then hard hitting hip hop. To me, that's like most of the time that's what I'm like Rage Against the Machine, but also Young Jeezy.
Yeah.
So um, yeah, I'd say probably those two like playlist series are my favorite.
I gotta check them out. I gotta check out the rest of it when I'm not traveling all over the place. But looking forward to demoing it and showing it to customers. I already kind of started a little bit in the last few weeks, so really excited for that. And then how can customers learn more about you? Also, dive into the support side of things a little bit because I think that's also a carrot in the pro side of things when you move away from a consumer product is you actually get support on our side of things.
Yeah. So we've made a pretty decent investment. Like, I mean, we don't usually use AI, but our customer success team, which is what we call customer support, continues to grow. And it's not like, it's not necessarily that people have problems with the service, but we have a robust music service. So it's our job to make sure that you understand all the benefits. Anytime we bring on a new partner, like we have thousands of channels and most likely we have the perfect playlist and the perfect music combination for you. But when we onboard a new brand, we always spend a ton of time with the music department and customer success working through that to educate every instructor. We also sit on like quarterly franchise calls to walk through the product just to make sure that people understand the new developments, the new updates, the new features that we're adding and how to best use those features.
That's very cool. So, how would a customer, when they get to Fit Radio, how are they going to get, how they onboarded? What's the experience like? Is there, a trial program? All those kinds of things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can go to fitradio.com. You can also reach out to anybody on the contact page, whether you're an individual or a gym. The onboarding process is pretty straightforward, depending on, again, whether you're using it for personal use or business use. It's there is a free trial on all tiers. There's a 7-day free trial on the individual tier and a 30-day free trial on the gym tier that you can access. Um, Unfortunately, we don't unlike most brands, like we don't have sales, right? Because music is rarely on sale. So It's kind of
Yeah.
the same thing across the industry, right? Like, I don't think that artists are willing to do a discount for listeners for a period of time. But we do offer free trials. It's super easy to cancel. There's no like long-term commitment to that, so it's pretty easy to check out.
That'd be cool. I'm excited to get, we've got, corporate amenity spaces that have gyms now, and lots of apartment buildings that have gyms as part of the apartment building. So, we're going to communicate obviously that to our existing customers, and they can just go on the website and get a trial and give it a shot in their existing location. We have existing gyms that hopefully use a pro service, but we'll send reminders to them as well. Any parting thoughts or anything you want to share, and we'll call it a day?
Man, I'm glad to be here, and I'm really excited about this integration and to finally have a hardware partner that we feel comfortable recommending that offers a high quality audio experience. So excited to get going.
Yeah, we're well. Our whole team is very excited as well. I can say I'm more so because obviously when we're doing these kinds of things, it just doesn't. Oh yeah, let's do it, and it's done. A lot of work went into this. I think we've been talking about it for I don't know, probably a year.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, us at Blue Sound Pro, we're very excited about it. I'm sure some of the Blue Sound residential customers will reach out for consumer accounts as well. But awesome talking to you. Maybe we'll get together again and talk about the nightclub stories and those kinds of things. Not on a camera.
Yeah.
Maybe on a golf course. But yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you, and really, really looking forward to what we're going to do in the future.
Thanks for having me.